My introduction to Glen or Glenda, as I'm sure it is for many people of my generation, was through Tim Burton's Ed Wood. And Ed Wood, if you don't know, is a biographical film about Edward D. Wood Jr., who directed, among other things, Glen or Glenda, and he's hailed as being one of the worst directors of all time. And while I have not seen every single director, so cannot comment, I actually like his films. But I guess that's because today we know that they are so bad, they're good, they're cheesy, they're corny, they're questionable, and that makes them good to watch. This was released in 1953, directed by Ed Wood, written by Ed Wood, and starring Ed Wood, as well as Bela Lugosi, who I love. Honestly, the subject matter is probably what makes this maybe difficult. It's difficult in two ways. One, because at the time in the 50s, having a film about a transvestite and a pseudo-hermaphrodite, which I've not actually heard of outside of this film, is not going to be that well received by the general audience. Watching it now, where these things are a lot more socially acceptable, the treatment is perhaps not what we would deliver today. So it's uncomfortable at the time because people didn't want to really see that kind of thing on screen. But I do think Edward Wood needs the credit for putting that on screen, because he does it in a way that is quite tasteful, kind of, maybe. We'll discuss that. And then obviously because present day we're watching is thinking, how on earth was this film ever made? But to be honest, I think it's still very interesting to watch. It's not the most well directed. The narrative isn't that difficult. The film is just over an hour long. It's not well developed. It's barely a feature film. But I think it tackles the subject matter for Ed Wood well, because this is a subject matter that's clearly close to his heart. And he's obviously trying to deliver some kind of message. And I don't think it treats transvestitism in a way that's going to encourage a negative reception. I think it's tasteful for the time. And I think it's educational. I think the response at the time could be educational when we look at how people perceive this kind of film or these kind of characters, because obviously they were often mocked back in the day. I suppose they still are in some circles. I do like this film. I don't know why I like it. I think I just like Ed Wood and Bela Lugosi. Lugosi is the scientist, and he does steal the show every time he's on screen. He is absolutely fantastic. There isn't really much of a plot there. From IMDb, it says a psychiatrist tells the stories of a transvestite, Glen or Glenda, and a pseudo-hermaphrodite, Alan or Anne. So maybe it could raise awareness. I don't know. There's not much of a narrative, but personally I like it because it's bad, so bad it's good. I think it's an interesting one to study. It's an interesting one to look at how it was received at the time. Lugosi is great. And I do have a soft spot for Ed Wood. I really do. Also, I love that pink Angora sweater. I love how iconic that's become. Maybe that's not a good thing. I don't know. But personally, I think it's brilliant. I think Ed Wood in this shines. I can't say that this was his favourite film he made, but I just feel like there's a lot of him going into this. I don't know why I feel that. Maybe I learned it subconsciously through Burton's Ed Wood. But for me, I just feel like Glen or Glenda is part of who Ed Wood is. And as such, if you're interested in Ed Wood's works, for whatever reason, right or wrong, Glen or Glenda is one that you absolutely have to see. And I would love to know what you think of it.